Hey, what's up guys? Few Designs back here with our third part of working on this OC character, Frost. And yeah, well, without further ado guys, let's get right into it. And as usual, click subscribe, and I hope you like the video. Okay, so as usual, we're starting off with our rounded cube, aka the quadrosphere. For those of you that are familiar, I'm sure you all know this by now, but when you start off into working in Blender, when you get the sculpt mode, it starts you off with that sphere. That's generally a rounded cube. That's the reason why I go through the process of adding the rounded cube, and I assume that's why the geniuses at Blender, or the back end team, designed this whole method to be able to import these type of meshes. But yeah, they're pretty cool to work with. You want to work with quads to start off with. For some reason they deform better. I don't fully understand it, but thank you to the geniuses out there, we appreciate it. So we just start off by blocking the arms out, and that's what we're using the rounded spheres for. Doing it in edit mode, you can do it in sculpt mode as well, obviously, but I like to work with this method. It's actually a new method I work with, but yeah, it works pretty well. Okay, and over here we're just adding in the armature. It's actually a pretty not so clever way that I went about this. Would have been better to just scale it down first, but as you'll see as goes on. But just to get the right proportions for the arm and make sure it matches our armature. Obviously you can style it however you want as well. I just like to work with this method as well, not super experienced, but the more experienced you become with your proportions, the less of this you'll be concerned about. You'll be able to just flow and just have fun. That's why it's good to study the anatomy, right? Study early, gain as much knowledge as you can, and you be able to work as a free creative. You don't need to then stress and worry about certain things. And yeah, there's power in knowledge. There's power in knowledge. Yes, you can say you heard it here first. Yeah, right. So yeah, we're just getting our proportions, aligning it with the armature, so we know what we're working with before we get to the sculpting part of this whole process. Okay, and at this part we're just finishing up the whole blocking out in edit mode. Guys, it will be faster in sculpt mode, at least I believe so, but this works as well. It's just fun methods to work around, so it's up to you. You can do it as you please as well. There's nothing holding you back. Yeah, so once we're done with this part, we bouillon the forms together and start to sculpt, as you can see above, and just keep refining. A lot of brush work to put in. Things to point out, as usual, I want you guys to remember this as a method. Use a clay brush with 0 strength. I picked this up earlier on when I was starting to sculpt. I learned this from Jan Sculpts. With the 0 brush, just to add topology, but as well it helps to even out topology, so your joint parts will work out well and properly. So you're just working that in, getting some smoothness and start to detail. You want to use your clay strips to get the form, know your muscle structure, know where you're filling in some volume, where you need to add dents, and we just flow with it, and yeah, just keep enjoying. Okay, and here we build in just the basic form of the muscle structure of the tricep, building in the olecranon, showing in those elbows. These dents will help, I promise you. You'll get some good deformation in your animating later on. Yeah. Okay, and here we just worked in the epicondyls. That's your bone structure by the elbow, your joint, your humerus, from your humerus bone, your upper arm, or your proximal bones. Yeah, so those are bony landmarks you want to work in and be aware of when you sculpt. Weirdly enough, doing this, Helps you when you start to deform and you animate as well. You'll notice that it's like the arm keeps its volume. For those of you that sculpt to want to be able to animate or sculpt, wanting to pose your characters as well and not just create characters in like boring poses. So it helps. You should do that. Try it. Okay, and here we just worked in the deltoids, adding that muscle structure, not forgetting that as much as we have a semi-realistic style, kind of working in a little bit of a stylized look as well, so kind of blocking it out and smooth it out, try to get those sharper edges, get that Fortnite style, or that style you'll see from studios like Kavuru Games. They're actually some of the artists that work on Fortnite characters, and yeah, it's pretty cool. I like the style. Alright, for the smoothing process, if you are curious enough, the brushes I generally work with are the smooth brush for one. Obviously, you can press shift with any brush and do that as well, but I found it doesn't quite work the same. You might want to work with your original smooth brush once in a while, and we smooth it out and scrape. Use the scrape brush to get our sharper ends. Use the grab brush just to position the muscle structure, like I said in another tutorial, the tutorial just before this, or should I say a walkthrough. It's not really that much of a tutorial, as much as I guess you are learning and receiving some impartation from me. Yeah, use the grab brush afterwards. If you can get your forms right, you can always reposition the structure of things. That's the cool thing about working with 3D, right? Okay, and here we're just working in the auxiliary part of the body, aka the armpit. Just getting a good feel for the dip, getting it right, and the muscle structure that will come in while creating space for it. So we can come and bully on our arm to it and join it and have a complete character. I hope it tickles your fancy. Get it? Okay, and here we are preparing to work in our lower limbs, our lower limbs. That's the legs. For anyone that doesn't know. Yeah, okay, so here we just, as usual, working with our rounded cube, preparing our way to start sculpting it. We block it out using the rounded cube. We're gonna add another one for the lower part of the limbs. That's from the what is it called? It's the distal limbs. Yeah, so we'll block that out and bully on these together and sculpt and get good form from it, and hopefully have a cool looking character, not forgetting that we are working with something stylized. I seem to forget every once in a while. Once again here, taking a clay brush with 0 strength just to add some topology in, so when we drag it down we don't have such a weird deform to it. It can make it very difficult to sculpt again, even when you bully on. Yeah, so it's better to just keep doing that. It's a cool trick that I picked up. Remember it. I hope you pick it up as well. Do your best to remember it. It is a very good tool. Well, a very good way to use the tools. And yeah, we're just using the grab brush just to block out our forms, the calf muscles, aka the Schwarro muscles. Get that sorted. Going for a look and feel. Not fully sure how to go about it, whether we're going for a fuller thigh or a bit super slimmer one. So go for the feel. Sometimes you want to just be able to play around a little bit and just be able to see how things will work out. And yeah, that's basically what I'm doing there. Then here we come in just to position them correctly so we can join it up into our hip, join it to the obliques and the gluteus medius muscles. And here, working according to muscle structure as always, just as a good foundation. This ends up changing entirely, by the way, but always work with that knowledge and that understanding of muscle structure. It'll make your sculpts look better as well. Our bodies are a temple that is well built, and it's a good source of inspiration. And generally, you'll find that your sculpts don't look as good without going for that. I'm not generalizing for all, of course, but yeah, I prefer to work with the muscle structure as is. Okay, and there we're just working in our female muscles. A little bit of back and forth that happened, yeah. But yeah, that's sculpting, isn't it? Back and forth, trial and error. You try this, you try that. It doesn't work. This works better. No matter how much you sculpt, it seems you never really get used to it. So yeah, but that's just life. Repetition is the mother of all learning. The more you do it, and then there's less of trial and error later on in life. And another good life lesson. You can call me life lesson feud. Oh, feud designs, the life lesson sculptor. Yeah, that's very cheesy. Don't do that. Do not do that. I don't know when you'll be watching this, even if it's years later. Don't do that. Alright, fantastic. Moving on. Alright, so yeah, we keep sculpting here. Just a good lesson for y'all. Live from within, by the way. It makes it so much more fun. I know some of you might find this very irritating how I present this, but I would rather be genuine and authentic with you. This is better. It's far much cooler. And yeah, I hope you enjoy it. I hope I'm even the least bit entertaining. And if I'm not entertaining, at least my sculpts will entertain you. They're very good, I think. And here we just bullion the two parts of the limb together, the distal and the proximal, just so we can start working in our knee and joint properly. But before that, we work on the crotch area. Please have a clean mind. Just leveling it out and using the scrape brush just to have a prepared surface. As you know, there is a proper gap between the two limbs. No, they don't come into this sharp arrow corner thing that you draw when you're a kid. Doesn't work that way. Yeah. And here we are just working in a little bit of more detailing for our leg. Just getting a nice structure and feel to it. Not going super realistic, so not really too concerned about the accuracy of muscle structure, but more alluding to the fact that the form, it can keep a generally realistic form without having to be super realistic. We are going in a very cartoony style, or manga-ish. I don't know which one, but that one. Yeah, and that's what we're going for. Okay, and once we get to bullion them together, we can start to build in the knee and its structure, and also going for the same look as we have in the calf, as we have in the shoulders. We need to golden thread our style. One thing to remember as well, for those of you that have studied design, I'm sure you know this, is a golden thread rule. Kind of like if you work with the design, you want to have a kind of consistency to it. So that helps. It helps. It will help emphasize your work and your style, and yeah, it will look better. Okay, and after doing a little bit of refining here, we're gonna go down to start working on our foot. Again, once again, as always, adding in our rounded cube. We want to use the rounded cube. It is the best. It is a law. It is our tesseract of design. It is the tesseract of sculpting. And just using the grab brush, positioning it, getting a feel for it, knowing what size of foot we're going for. She's going to have fairly big feet, but she is quite a tough chickie. She is an agent after all. She's not just Frost, she is Agent Frost. We will see that later on when we start to work on the outfit, on the clothing, on the accessories for her, all the little nitty-gritties once we start doing texturing as well. Hopefully we'll do that. I'm not promising that. Maybe we'll do that in a different type of tutorial. If you guys want to see that, let me know in the comments below. I'll be happy to. So yeah, we're just positioning her using our grab brush, using our inflate, using our draw brush, just to get the form right, scraping it, smoothing it, using this scrape brush just for us to get a little bit of our aesthetic with her, using the zero strength clay brush, bringing in some topology again, just to make it a little bit easier to work with and have a more uniform look. We want excellent work. We need to work with the spirit of excellence. And yeah, generally not worried. We're not adding any toes or anything. Yeah, we're not expecting to animate this character with feet hanging out or anything. So this will be the look and feel that we're going for. And here with the ankles, just using the inflate and draw brush, using the sharp draw brush to refine, using the pinch brush for the edges, just to keep that uniform feel. Like we said, we're golden threading it for the same reason we scrape down at the lower part of the foot. Keep it uniform, keep a single style and look to it. I say that while we're doing a semi-realistic, semi-cartoon style, but that's exactly what it's all about. I think that's where the manga feel comes in. After we bullion the body onto the limbs, or vice versa, I guess, we go again with the zero strength brush, just to get that nice joint feel to it. Yeah, that's something you will take from these tutorials. Zero strength sculpt brush and dynamic topology for joining limbs for bullion parts. It works very well, and we just refine it just to go for the final touches on this part of our body. But essentially, you could consider this a complete sculpt, I guess, for now. And here we just brought in our armature back so we can position the arms. We're going to use X symmetry, very reason why I only sculpted one of these. Remember, with this, set the origin to the center point. So while the cursor is still in your middle of your world, so Shift C to place it in the origin and the center, and X mirror it, get the symmetry, apply the bullion. Remember, we're doing this to work easier and not have to work so hard. And here, as always, clay brush, zero strength, fix up the joint part, build in the shoulder muscles, build in those deltoids, join them to the pectorals, and we're keeping a stylized look, so do not judge the way it looks. And this is also going to help with the deform. A couple of tips I got to pick up from other great sculptors and great character designers out there. This specifically as a trick in the way you kind of go about your shoulder muscles. I learned this from watching Dicko. If you know Dicko, check out his YouTube channel. Very cool, very good artwork, and yeah, very thorough. That's a good person to learn from as well in terms of the community. So yeah, check his stuff out. And voila, there you have it, our beautiful mesh. But the job is not done yet. There is still more to come. We still have to sculpt in our hands. Fun! No, really, it is fun. It's one of my favorite parts to sculpt. Also some of the most difficult work you'll have to do. It can take you just as long to do the hands as it does to do the whole body. Well, personally, I know it kind of does for me. But yeah, let me know what you think and how it goes for you. Maybe you guys might even have a cooler trick than I will have to show you here. But until then, let's keep going. As always, we're using our rounded cube just to block out the general form and feel and the volume of the arm, using the grab brush, the inflate brush, and just leveling it out, getting the palmer to look good. It's very strange, right? Easter egg. And we add in another rounded cube, and this we're going to use to create the phalangeals, aka the fingers, and grab brush, extending it out, and we'll enjoy the process and see how we go about it. Alrighty, as you can see, I've worked in the divisions for the different parts of the phalangeals, and once we have that, now we can sort out the volume and the feel. You can do it vice versa, it really doesn't matter how you go about it. Sculpt and scrape, add topology, flatten the tops. We need to keep that golden thread, the look and feel, so we're gonna go for those very fries, chip fingers. I don't know. In South Africa we call them chips, but I know chips generally refers to like crisps in most parts or other parts of the world. Yeah, these are the fry fingers. These are good finger designs. I like them. Some artists frown down upon it, but I think it's one of the coolest styles you could ever work in. Your characters look cooler. And we've worked in quite a bit of the detail here. It's up to you how detailed you want to be. There's a bit of back and forth that I went through in this whole process, but you can't ignore that. But the cool thing with this, as you can see by the way, I am working with the armature active and keeping it as is. This just helps a whole lot later when you're needing to weight paint the character as well. You can reposition the actual fingers of the armature, but I work around it as a form, because then I don't have to stress about it when it comes to rigging afterwards to try and pose my character. It comes ready and positioned and prepared, and all I have to do is apply the automatic weights, and it'll generally work well with those. But I have a preference for doing all of that myself. But since it's not a rigging tutorial, let's ignore that and move on. The super secret about this method is exactly that. With the fingers, you can just duplicate, and just like with everything else, and just position the rest and scale them. You only really need to sculpt one, and this is where it will save you a whole lot of the effort. You'll need to work with them as different objects. I'm gonna give you this tip. I could just leave you to struggle with it a little bit for a learning process. I don't want to just spoon feed everything, but what you want to do is make sure that they are separate objects. You will struggle with placing them and positioning them right if they are not. So duplicate it as an object and not in edit mode. You're welcome. And it will be the same procedure with our thumb. Nothing changes. Keep going through it in that same way. And you can just watch and pick up a few tips and tricks on what exactly is so different about how I approach it as well, and certain details that I choose to add in, which help a lot later on when you start to actually rig and animate as well. These will be the bony landmarks of the wrists, and the general muscle structure there, filling in the volume. Actually, what those bones are, you get the ulnar and the radius bone. So these bony landmarks come from those two bones in your forearm, in your distal arm. Yeah. Okay, and here we just start to add in our final touch-ups on the hands, just to get that nice detailing in, some cool looking sculpts. We're adding in the details for our knuckles. One of my favorite parts to sculpt as well, weirdly enough. Yeah, this is just so we can have a nice looking arm, nice deforms. It can have a nice, more natural feel when you start to animate the arms and positioning and all of that. And you know, it'll look great. It'll look excellent. You want to produce work that looks good, that looks like somebody would want to look at this and be like, yeah, this is art. And yeah, thanks a lot, guys. Thank you for your time. I have enjoyed this, and I hope you do as well. And please don't forget, click subscribe below, and I will ask you again in the outro audio. Yeah, thank you a lot for your time, and blessings. Cheers. Well, guys, and that's our masterpiece so far. I really hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did, and please, if you can, click like at the bottom, click subscribe, help me with the algorithm, and I hope to reach a lot of people with this. I hope to learn a lot from you guys as well. And well, until next time, cheers.